This is Greg with Walnut Ridge RV, and today we're going to be doing an orientation video on the the Outback Ultra-Lite series. This is the 280 URB. So we'll start up here in the front, go over the LCI tongue jack. So this is very simple. They have an on and off switch which controls the light, and then you also have your extend and retract. So that'll get you on and off your vehicle, and also help level from front to back. Nothing else you really need to know about it, except for you do have a manual way of operating it in case something ever happens and the jack fails, or if you lost power for some reason. You can pop that rubber grommet off, and there's a crank, and they're inside the unit, or it's a 3/4 inch socket that you can get on a drill or just by hand, and you can run it up manually if you ever had to. Now your LP tanks have a cover over them. You take that cover off and you'll have two 7-gallon LP tanks. Of course, if you purchase from here, they're full at the time of delivery. They work pretty simple. They have a auto switchover regulator in the front, which has two different modes of operation. You can either run it with one tank on and one tank off. You'll want this lever pointing at whichever tank is on, and basically it'll run until everything stops running. When it does, this gauge in the front will go red like it is right now, and everything will stop working. Once it does that, you'll know, okay, this tank's empty, so let me turn this one on, flip my lever over, and now I'll start running off this tank. I can take that one into town, go get it filled, exchanged, filled with the big tanks. But now you can also run it in auto switchover mode. So if you leave both tanks on, whichever tank you have the lever pointing at, it's going to draw off that tank first. Once that tank goes empty, that gauge will go red once again, but it'll automatically start pulling from this tank, whichever tank, automatically. So that way, if you're running down the road with your fridge on gas or LP, and that tank runs out, this one will keep it running. That way your food don't go bad. So it's pretty nice. You can run them whichever way you want. Behind that you'll have a 12-volt deep cycle marine battery. That battery's going to use for your lights and your breakaway cable, water pump, and things like that if you're dry camping. So always have a working 12-volt battery on the unit. Most of the batteries are not maintenance free, so you'll need to check the water levels every 6 months to a year and make sure that they are filled with distilled water. You have a nice LED strip on the front, which has a light switch here on the middle of the cap. Really nice. You can see when you're hooking up at night. This is pass-through storage. You got the smaller opening here. Key is a 751 key. This key's been the same since the early 70s, so everybody has that key. And then you have your water heater. So the water heater, I've already taken the door off. This is a 6-gallon Suburban. These run off electric or gas. So depending on the time of the year, whenever you picked it up from us, the camper, it'll already be full. If it's summer, if it's winter, it'll be bypassed and winterized. So to use it, when you first get somewhere, you'll want to put in the drain plug, which is already in here at the bottom. It's a 15/16 socket, or an 1 1/16 socket for the steel anode rods. You want to put those in and tighten them all the way down. Once you do that, you can unbypass the unit from the inside if it is bypassed. Turn on your water, come out here and lift this valve open, and whenever, it's actually got water in it. So whenever you get water start flowing out of that, so just leave it open until water starts shooting out. Once it does, you know the water heater's full. That pushes any air out of the system. Now you're ready to use it. So if you want to run off electric, if you are plugged in at your campsite, you'll have an electric switch here on the outside. It's usually in the bottom left corner. It's an on and off switch, simple toggle switch. Flip that on, and then you'll also have another switch on the inside. So both switches will have to be on in order for it to run off electric. If you want to run it off LP, make sure your LP tank's on. You'll have one single switch on the inside on the monitor panel. Just flip that switch. You should hear it light. Just make sure it lit. Give it about 15-20 minutes and it will be hot. They recover a little bit faster on propane, so you can run them both if you needed to. So if you want to have the electric going, and then say if you're going to take a shower or do dishes, you can flip the gas on before you do those things. So once the electric heat depletes, the gas will kick on and help it recover just a little bit faster. After you're done using it, it's always recommended to drain the water heater unless you're going to use it the next day or next couple days. But So what you want to do is open that valve open to let all that air and pressure out, and then you just go ahead and remove that drain plug once again. Just always make sure that you open this and let the pressure out, because if you don't, you won't forget to do it again. This is under a lot of pressure and that rod will come out and potentially hurt you. Put your cover back on. Always make sure that's on and tight before you travel. You have 2 sources of water on every camper, so this one here is your fresh tank fill. So basically you'll stick a hose into here, turn it on and let it fill up till it starts backing out. That way you know it's completely full. Whenever you get to the spot you're camping or you want to use some water, flip the water pump on the inside, and just like you're being at home, you'd have a limited supply of water. The one next to it is the city water connection. So like most campgrounds that are full hookup, you'll just hook up your water hose in here. You'll want to run from a hose, from a regulator, from the spigot into the camper, turn it on, and you have an unlimited water supply. The only thing to know about with the fresh tank is that it does have a drain. The drains are always usually directly below where it hooks up. So in this model, it's right down below here. It has an on and off valve. That's how you'll want to close it, fill it up. When you're done using it, drain it, let all that extra water out. Back here you have your furnace exhaust. This is only going to blow out hot air whenever you're using your furnace, but you always want to make sure that you have mud dauber screens on these. They sell them in the store. It's one of the most important things you can have on your unit. Mud daubers build nests, big rock nest, and they build up in the squirrel cage, and they can end up backing it up, which can break the fins off, and you're in damage for something you shouldn't have to be. That's preventable. So always have mud dauber screens. Below here you have one of your dump stations. So I'll just explain everything on this one. You have this cap that unscrews off. Make sure there's no water in there. So when you get to your dump site, you'll hook your hose on here, tighten it up. This is the gray tank too. So this is your bathroom sink and shower water. So hook up your hose, put it in the dump site, open this up, wait till it's completely closed, or wait till it's completely done, close it, and then you can take it off, put your cap back on, and travel that way. One thing you'll always want to remember, if this was the black tank or the gray tank, always make sure the valves are completely shut before camping, because these caps are watertight, and that way if the cap was open, you started using that water, it's all going to back up into here, and when you take this cap off, it's all going to end up all over you. So always make sure your valves are shut before you start camping. We have cable-driven slides on this Outback. These are a pretty low maintenance on the cables themselves. So I maybe spray a light coat of dry lube on these every once in a while. I'll just put a piece of cardboard behind here. Not that the dry lube will harm the pylon, but just to keep it off the camper, spray that light coat on there, and then run them in. You don't. It's not necessary, but I like to do it that way. It keeps the gears and everything lubricated with the pulleys. The only thing you really need to worry about is your rubber seals. They're flipped in on this one when they should be out, but you'll basically spray a rubber seal conditioner on these every 6 weeks, every couple months I'd say. Spray a dry lube rubber seal conditioner on those rubber seals, top, bottom, and both sides. That'll keep those pliable so they don't end up cracking. That's one of the most important things in maintenance besides your roof and things, because you get water in there, it's on your floor and ends up rotting your floor out. It's not something you want on a brand new coach. Back here you have your water heater or your refrigerator. Way too ahead of myself. There's not much in here you need to actually mess with. I just like to clean these out periodically, so when you're going through every couple months doing your maintenance, just sweep this out, get any bees nests out of there. That way you ain't got wasps roaming around your campsite. And they also they like to get into the gas tube in there sometimes, so just make sure you check that. You will have this condensation drip hose sticking out. If that ever drips water, which it will, that's okay. It's supposed to do that. We keep them on the outside, that way it doesn't get into the inside of the coach. Alright, up here you have a key TV. This is new with a lot of the Keystone products. This is going to basically if you're using a standalone satellite, instead of having to do multiple drops to each TV location, you hook up in your satellite, and then wherever you put your dish box at, you'll be able to run satellite off that coax. So that's the new thing they're doing. They're really nice to have. Built-in booster, things like that. You don't have to mess with the booster anymore. We also have videos on that KTV thing on further down on our site, so if you want to check those out. Then you have an outside shower, simple hot and cold operation. Nice to have for dogs and sandy feet, things like that. Power cords, the 30 amp detachable cords. You always want to make sure you wrap that up and take it with you before you leave. This unit has stabilizing jacks on it. They're 3/4 inch cranks, which crank will be in the front storage or underneath the bed, more than likely. If you just want to get a 3/4 inch socket on a drill and run those up, you can. Those are not for leveling, they're just for stabilizing. So you'll want to level off the front electric jack for front to back leveling, and then if it's really bad, you can drive up on blocks or links levelers for side to side leveling. Get level that way and then drop those down until they snug up. But do not try to lift the trailer with those. And here you have a 12 electric only fridge. Sorry, so it's 110 only, so it doesn't run off 12 or anything like that. So when you get plugged in at the campsite, this will kick on. It only takes a couple hours to get cold. Other than that, it's just not a TV hookup. A lot of cabinetry. Another TV hookup out here. So you put your TV out here. If not, you have a couple extra outlets you can use. Main thing over here is you have a battery disconnect inside the storage, so anytime you're not using the coach, if you're going to store it, you'll want to flip that battery disconnect completely off. It will basically act as taking the negative off the battery. That'll keep things like your radio, backlights, and things like that from draining your battery while you're not using it. So let's go ahead and go inside. We'll start at this monitor panel up here. So up here, this is going to tell you the levels in each of the tanks I explained outside. So you have a fresh tank, which is your drinking water, if you did fill up that tank up there by the city. It'll tell you your battery level somewhat whenever you're not plugged in. Black 1 is your toilet. NA obviously is not using. And then gray 1 is your bathroom, sink, and shower. And gray 2 is your kitchen sink. So like I said earlier, that tank out there is the kitchen sink, not the bathroom, sink, and shower. The black tank 1 and gray 1 are in the back of the coach. They're underneath roughly where the outside shower was. You have a water pump here, so if you just want to flip that on whenever you're using the fresh tank, it'll pressurize and give you full water capabilities. You don't have to use that when you're using your city water, just when you're using the fresh tank. And then you have your electric and gas water heater. So if you want to use electric, just make sure that you have this switch on and the switch on the water heater itself. Gas, you only have to just flip that one on. It's got a fault light too. It'll go off when that actually lights, so you can watch that. Now, if you can't hear it light, you'll know whenever this light shuts off. Other than that, you have a few awning light, ceiling light, your slide rooms in and out, simple in and out operation. And then your awning, same thing, it's just simple extend and retract. You can stop it halfway out or wherever. If you can't get it out all the way, you don't have to extend it all the way out. Let's see, we got new Furrion overheads, so you have light, fan here, which are nice, and then the Furrion stoves have blue LED lights on them, and they're automatic sparkers. So if we had LP gas right now, we don't because we're in the showroom. You turn it to the flame and give it a few sparks, and once it lights, then you can turn it to whatever flame setting you want. Same with the ovens, they do the same thing now. So you'll just turn it to flame, hold the button in for a few seconds, and then you can start giving it a few clicks until the very back underneath the oven lights. It's way back here. It's hard to see if anybody's ever owned an old school oven before. It's the exact same spot that it'll try to light. Once you get that flame, you can let off the button and turn it to whatever temperature you want, and the whole bar down there will light up in a flame. You have Dometic refrigerators. two button operations. You have on and off, and then auto or gas only. I always leave it in the auto mode at all times. And basically when it's in auto, it runs off electric first if it's there. It's always going to try to find 110 power first. If it cannot find 110, it's going to switch to gas automatically as long as the LP tanks are on and running. So that way, what I do is I'll plug it in the night before I'm going to leave for camp. Get it cold, put all my food in the day before right when I leave. I'll unplug it. When I unplug from my house or wherever I'm parked at, it'll automatically switch over to gas, and then I can travel knowing that the refrigerator's running on gas and it's keeping whatever food I stored in there cold. That's always a good idea to do if you can, because these fridges do take up to 6 to 8 hours, if not even longer, to get fully cold. So that's always one thing everybody needs to be sure of, or that they know, is that these do take a long time to get cold. So don't check on it every hour. It doesn't get cold that quick. The more you check on it, the longer it's going to take. Let's see here. We have the Furrion Access. So this is basically just prepped for the new Access Center Furrion has. It has 4G capabilities. You can put the antenna on the roof, and the box slides in on here. That's a new feature Furrion's putting in. Down here you have the radios. Really simple operations. You have just your normal buttons. You got Bluetooth. This will switch you through radio, DVD, other operations. It wants to load a DVD right now, so it can't. TV, auxiliary, if you want to plug in your phone, and the normal radio. The only other difference is you have 1 and 2 zone. So 2 is always the outside speakers, and then 1 is the inside speakers. You can have them both on at once, or whichever combination you like. You can plug in an auxiliary cord here if you want. One thing I will say is if you ever get one of these kind of radios and it's not playing anything, always make sure that this little tag isn't in the headphone jack. We've got that call before where now if that's all the way in there, it won't play through the speakers because it thinks it has headphones in. So always just make sure that's... Alright, let's see. Bathrooms, not too much else different in here. You have automatic reset GFIs, so if it any of the outlets near water, if they're ever not working, you can come in here and see if it's tripped. It'll have a red light on it. If it does, just push on the black button until the red light goes off, and that'll reset just like most homes have. The toilet, same way. You just push down on the foot lever to fill it up with water, get it filled, use it, and then when you're done, all the way down will flush it. One big thing to remember is always make sure that your travel doors are shut before you travel, because that glass will break if you go over too many bumps. Got smoke detectors in the main room, carbon monoxide in the bedroom. It has these pop-up sockets, which are really nice, right here by the table. So these, in normal operation, are down, but you can pull them up, and you have 2 110 outlets and a couple USB chargers. And then microwave standard, nothing different than any house microwave. They're really easy to work. Down below here you have a LP gas leak detector. So if you ever have a gas leak or anything that's going to start beeping at you, you want to shut off your LP tanks, let the camper air out for a while, and then maybe get into it and see what's going on with the gas. Make sure you didn't leave the stove on or something. And then that leaves us to the bedroom. There's nothing in here really. You have emergency exit windows here. These new latches just flip out like this, and then you can push the window out just like that. It's on a hinge, and dive out the window if you had to. You have another mounting bracket here, so if you wanted to put a TV up here, you could, and it would also run off the same antenna or satellite TV. It's got plenty of underbed storage. You have 110 outlets on both sides, and then a USB charger on that side. Got a little shelf up there for books and things. And all the lights in here are just push button in the middle switches. All right. Does this have the... Yeah, this one. Actually, I'll show you just over in here. This one's got the dog cage. So if you ever did have small dogs and stuff while you were gone, you could, they made that into a little room for them, which is nice. And then the last feature is the laundry chute down here. So if you wanted to put a laundry basket in there, you could, or a trash can. And you can use that as a laundry chute. All right, well, this was Greg with the Walnut Ridge RV, and this is the Outback 280 URV. Thank you.